All ready? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawson County Board of Commissioners work session. Today's Thursday, October the 15th, 2020. I want to welcome those of you that are here as well as those that are online with us. It's good to have you with us. I do have one addition to bring up your attention on this work session agenda. It's 5.1, and that will be Etowah Valley Sporting Clay's First Amendment to lease agreement. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. We'll start out with new business. First up, we have presentation of Dawson Economic Development Strategic Plan, 3 Points Planning, Lynn Patterson. This is going to be a virtual presentation, so I would advise you to take a look at one of our monitors. Lynn.
Take myself off mute. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I'm delighted to be here. I have my colleague Ryan Thompson from Thomas & Hutton with me as well.
Good afternoon.
And we wanted to give you a summary of the work that we've completed for the economic development the economic development plan we've developed for Dawson County. We've worked very closely with Betsy McGriff and Christy Moore over at the Chamber of Commerce, as well as a number of folks, including the Development Authority and a number of stakeholders. We're finalizing the report right now, about to present it to the Development Authority for as a deliverable, but we wanted to share with you, as I mentioned, some of the highlights from the plan. So we're going to walk through it. Please feel free if you have some questions. We would love to be able to answer them. And if you'd like to discuss in more depth any of the recommendations we have or any of our process, we'd be happy to do that either now or at a later date. So I think we'll get started. Ryan, you ready?
I am.
Okay.
Share the screen there. Let me know. Make sure y'all can see that. If
We're good? Okay. Well, as I mentioned, there were actually 3 of us, Thomas & Hutton, Nextsite, and myself with 3 Points Planning, who have worked very diligently on the economic development plan. We've been working on this for probably about 9 or 10 months, I guess, and really have had a very good experience with the community, a lot of community involvement and engagement to help us get to these recommendations, which are presented in the plan. The goal really of any economic development plan is to give sort of strategic direction or guidance to the bodies, not only the official bodies, but also the community as a whole, so that everyone is arguably rowing in the same direction about where you want to go from a development standpoint. As part of the analysis, we looked at historical conditions, current conditions, what trends we see in the market. So we've did a lot of research and did a lot of talking to try to find what that shared vision for the county was. Then identify what some of your existing community assets are. And we've come up with a series of recommendations, of which we're going to focus on the 5 goals that give us then the policies and programs and initiatives direction for Dawson County to pursue. So I'll start with our 5 goals. The first one is to really focus your development efforts. One of the things we found about Dawson County was, and we know this because we've been up there a number of times. I'm local-ish down in Atlanta. I spend a lot of time. I've got friends who live up in Dawson County, so I'm very familiar with it. You have an incredible, natural environment to take advantage of. And our goal really as economic development professionals is to help you focus those development efforts so that you can preserve that character, preserve all of your natural amenities while being able to develop economically. So we have identified some priority development areas that Ryan will actually walk through, show you where we've looked at it, some generalities in terms of what kinds of activities you'd want to see there, and then we have programs and policies to actually support the development of those areas. This helps to concentrate development, so as I said, sure, you're able to preserve and conserve your natural resources, but also take advantage of those resources as assets to support the commercial activity. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about the business opportunities. by focusing your, sorry, not yet, by focusing your development efforts in these particular areas, they're not property specific, you'll see that it allows us and you as a community to really be able to focus your investments in infrastructure so that you're not running sewer lines and water lines all throughout the county, but you're able to provide that necessary infrastructure into those specific places. Another part of that, focusing those development efforts, is making sure that your ordinances support the vision and the goals and the businesses and housing, et cetera, that you'd want to put into those specific priority development areas. So we've got recommendations for zoning changes or a way, and we're also working, I should mention, I'm also working with Jameson on the overlay districts for 453. So there's been a really good overlap to make sure that the ordinances you're putting through the overlay districts and density, et cetera, are going to be able to support that vision that you've been looking for. And then the other piece is, this is a policy piece, but it says if you're going to develop in these priority development areas, this is where the opportunity for incentives comes. So this helps to direct the development authority to try to encourage the development that you have already envisioned and attract those developers into those spaces. Okay, next step, next slide. Our second goal was really to generate opportunity for business. You've already got a very good business climate, obviously you've got a lot of retail success. We see there's a real opportunity with prioritizing business retention and expansion. And that is enabling Betsy to go out and be meeting with and really attending to the existing businesses. Most job creation actually doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside, from businesses being able to expand, from making sure that they have the workforce that they need to be able to address any specific issues that those businesses have. So really emphasizing that as an economic development strategy. Don't forget what you already have. And they do a good job, and we're really encouraging that to continue. The second piece is that new business piece. What kind of businesses do you want to attract? And I will talk toward the end of the presentation about targeted industries. Really examining what your assets are, who your workforce is, who your clusters are, what the regional activity that's going on. How do you leverage all of that to find businesses that you can attract to the community that will help support your overall goals? There's a discussion we have for that. And of course, marketing Dawson County, letting everybody know who you are, what you have for opportunity, that you are open for business, that you're excited, that you have a direction in which this plan is guiding you. That gives a ton of certainty to businesses as they're looking in communities and looking to either relocate or start up new businesses. Next. Our third goal is supporting community residents. So an economic development plan is not just about adding to the tax base. It's not just about the number of businesses or the percent of vacant storefronts you have. It really is a more comprehensive initiative where you are enabling your own residents to have a better quality of life, to be able to have better jobs, higher quality jobs that have better benefits. Those are the kinds of businesses that you're going to want to recruit and support. And those even tie back to when, if you're looking at incentives or you're looking at businesses, who do you want to attract? You want economic development to be a partnership in which the businesses that are coming are going to help support your overall community goals. And that includes housing. You've got workforce, the workforce that are in the manufacturing jobs and any of these targeted industries in the medical services field. You can drive 30 minutes, 32 and a half minutes is the average commute time right now. If you can have folks that are living in the community, not only do you have the ability to employ them, but all of the multipliers that you have when they start to go get their hair done, go grocery shopping, all of those monies that are turned over and over again into the community for workforce, for families and senior populations. Next. And then last but not least is really sort of protecting, as I mentioned, and this is, again, these are high level. We've a lot more detail in our report and some other priorities and initiatives, but recognizing that your greatest asset, although you're not developing it, you can certainly leverage it. And that's the nature and cultural tourism that you have in Dawson County. You're very rich up there with it in a number of ways that make Dawson County really unique and are good attractors for people to come, day visitors, overnight visitors, week-long visitors. And there are even ways in which you can leverage some of that activity. And the other piece is looking at green spaces and greenways to help not only for visitors to take advantage of, but the residents, the everyday residents, your employees, that they can start to really get out and enjoy the vistas, the views, and experience nature in Dawson County. And next slide. So those are the very, very high level goals. And I really want Ryan to walk through some of these priority development areas that we've identified. We did a lot of research, spent a lot of time thinking, brainstorming through the different geographic areas in Dawson County in which we think that different activities will be best suited for development. Again, going back to that first slide, all of the benefits of concentrating development as well. These are not property specific. These are just general areas. We don't do property specific. We're just trying to let you know in these different activity centers or nodes or priority development areas, this is where we would recommend seeing some activities. Ryan?
Thank you, Ann. Again, all can hear me. Again, Ryan Thompson, Thomas and Hutton, hope you all are doing well today. I want to key you in a bit on these maps. The maps will, the series of maps will all look similar to this. So just so you can follow along, I wanted to go through this a bit before we move on. But as Lynn mentioned, these are the priority development areas is what we call these. And they're basically geographic areas within Dawson County of where we're prioritizing or suggesting focused development areas. The map, just to key you in a bit, and I know you're probably seeing it on a fairly small screen, so the final report will be probably a bit better, more legible, but the hatch pattern areas represent different land use types from retail, commercial, residential, industrial, professional services, and mixed use. And these are, like I mentioned earlier, are broken up into geographical areas. And they're 4 main ones that we talk of is Georgia 400 South, which is basically everything south of the 53 intersection with Georgia 400, then Georgia 400 North, which, believe it or not, is everything north of the 53 and 400 intersection, the Russell Creek Reservoir area, and then there's an additional area we won't focus on really today related to the city of Dawsonville itself. With that, we'll dive deeper into these other priority development areas. And just give an idea of the development types we see coming. As Lynn said, they're not specific to any parcels. They obviously do look at topography. They look at where there are larger parcels that exist that haven't already been developed. So there is some method to the madness of the shapes of them for sure, but they are not parcel specific. We do that on purpose, so it's not specifically focusing out on one piece of property. The first area we wanted to touch on is Georgia. This is in the Georgia 400 South area. It's the area we call State Route 53 mixed use area. So it's here at the intersection of Dawson Forest Road and State Route 53. We know you're already seeing some residential development in that area, specifically some multifamily residential that's happening there. We do see it as an opportunity, especially with the roundabout that's coming, is that it could be more than that, right? It could serve as a concentrated little commercial area for area of mixed use in that, specifically the type of commercial that might not be able to afford or need the visibility of a Georgia 400 corridor, but it could definitely act as like a gateway into the community and also as connectivity over to where Lake Lanier touches. This is a great opportunity to kind of tie some of the other things we'll talk about later related to green space and trail connectivity together. So this, I will go through these in the essence of time, but again, if there is questions, we can come back to them and dig in deeper. But this is the first of the areas in Georgia 400 South. Again, it's a predominantly mixed use, but there is a mixture of all uses. And you can see it's a fairly large area. You will see a breakdown of net acreage, so please pay attention to that. we recognize that y'all have a lot of topographic opportunities as opposed to challenges, but you do have a lot of topography there in Dawson County. So we try to focus on what we think will actually be kind of a net developable acreage on each of these as we go through. Again, still in Georgia 400 South, the retail expansion area. I'm going to be really brief on this because this is probably the lowest and most easily recognized of any of them. Your existing retail development from south of Dawson Forest Road kind of stops right now at Whitmire Drive. There's obvious future development progression of the type of kind of regional and national retailers that need that Georgia 400 traffic and exposure. So we've identified an area there that's very logical and likely expansion. One thing to point out, you'll notice on most of these, we do talk about trying to integrate these into some sort of greater trail or green space system. I know you've already done a good job of incorporating some pedestrian improvements along the 400 corridor and some of your newer developments. We would encourage you to continue that and maybe even think bigger than that and try to really link up an entire trail system along Georgia 400. I want to spend a little bit of time here. This is the area, it's small but powerful, we think. We're calling it Destination Dawson County. If you can see there on the map, it's right to the west of the North Georgia Premium Outlets. There's already some existing development there on the intersection. You've got a roundabout there, but we really see this as a great opportunity to create a place, right? It's a place that could be some public activity that obviously a mixture of uses that would really encourage the creation of a special place in the county that there might be an opportunity to have a movie on the green and create an open space or maybe an amphitheater, but also it serves as a great opportunity for, again, this interconnected trail network that we see that can start on Dawson Forest Road and work its way out to Dawson Forest. And again, I will touch on a map that kind of shows that here in the future, but critical on this is think mixed use, definitely plan to allow for vertically mixed use. You want people there, right? You've already got people at the North Georgia Premium Outlets during the day and a lot on the weekends, but let's generate some things that would create some people there at night and, you know, just people even living in that area. And the final area in the Georgia 400 South, it would be the existing industrial expansion area. This would be, again, expansion of the area that you already have identified, or you already have your industrial growth, the Hightower industrial area. This is an area where we see an opportunity to continue that style of development, both expansion of those existing industries or similar type industries. One thing we did recognize while we were doing the plan is we are starting to push up against some of the residential growth in the county there. So that western edge is very important to be sensitive of it through buffers or natural resources protection, maybe even incorporating some trails through that area that could be a benefit to both the residential and the jobs and growth that happen in that area. But again, that section just like similar to the retail expansion area, we see as a logical growth area. It is a sorry, back to that. It's around 200 acres that we're showing, but again, the net acreage of that is about 120 or 150 acres of total area that's showing there on the map. Georgia 400 North, so now we've jumped across 53. So now this is looking a little bit further out, right? The ones that are south of 53, we recognize as they're kind of immediate, or there's already some development trends and development things happening there. We see the growth out 400 North, a little bit more long range. The first area is, again, it's not parcel specific, but it is going along with topography and some larger parcels that exist. But this is basically the northwest corner of the intersection of Lumpkin Campground and 400. It's a large area. It's around 425 total acres, of which around 290 or so is what we're thinking would be a net acreage. We really see this as an opportunity to be truly mixed use with job opportunities to be very much technology-based industry because of the broadband availability. Dawson County is very blessed to have the broadband availability that it does. A lot of the communities we work in are struggling to solve that issue. And we also see it as a great opportunity to be with that technology to create additional technology and business-related activities that will spur off of that, and as well as opportunities to integrate inside this piece workforce housing development opportunities. And again, you'll notice always incorporating green space and trails. Specifically on this, we recognize we're touching the Etowah River corridor. There's a need to be sensitive of that. The trails and green space and buffer preservation could be a great opportunity there to not only have economic development and growth, but expand upon and develop that green space network within the county and further that. Moving on, now we're at Georgia, what we call Georgia 400 North, the professional services corridor. You'll notice this is very linear. We basically recognize that this area is ideally located between two significant medical centers, the Northeast Georgia Medical Center and Northside Hospital. So kind of ideally located. We see this as a growth opportunity, not specifically just medical, but definitely a opportunity that there will be a lot of medical growth pressures and demand. So recognizing that, planning for that, developing maybe some overlay district standards that Lynn referenced earlier that would further encourage and incentivize those. Let me go. And the final, again, I apologize, I'm probably breezing through these really quickly. The final area I'm going to focus on today is what we call Russell Creek Reservoir. This is a large area. It's around your future reservoir. You know, it's funny. I think this is one of the first times I've seen it proven true that the real estate, the old real estate adage that they aren't making waterfront property anymore is actually going to prove untrue, because there will be a new 135-acre reservoir there developed by Etowah. And that is going to create a lot of potential for both residential, but we really encourage the county to think about the potential that it has countywide for recreational opportunities. So not a lot of focus on this because we recognize it as majority residential, but we would, encourage consideration of something that incentivizes or requires preservation of that lake edge that would be open to the public, so that you don't have only people with houses fronting on the lake having access and enjoyment of the lake. There's actually we see the potential of some retail and smaller outfitter kind of opportunities that could happen associated with that as well. And then when you're considering the recreation, don't forget to consider both public. Those would be your typical trails and fishing piers and things, but also those private generating things that could be tax bases for the county. Specifically, RVing and camping is a massive industry that's happened. It was already big before COVID or pre-COVID, but COVID seems to have only increased that. And lastly, I mentioned it earlier. This is a high-level look at a potential green space and trails network. I know, again, you're just too quick for you to get a good feel for what it is, but basically a series of trails that could be phased in over time. Again, here's the Russell Creek Reservoir, looking at the 400 corridor, trying to incorporate something that's linear, truly like a mixed-use path there. This Dawson Forest Greenway Trail that would connect out to Dawson Forest, utilizing, again, the destination Dawson County as a trailhead. And then there's some existing water and sewer expansions that are happening in the orange areas. So we're encouraging you to start working with Etowah to incorporate and acquire more than just water and sewer rights, but maybe the trail and greenway rights as well at the same time. And then obviously there's some other smaller, as improvements or needs happen to Georgia 53, plan for at least pedestrian and bicycle improvements, maybe not necessarily an off-road trail. And I would like to give Betsy a lot of kudos. She has leveraged this into an additional $20,000 with no match fund from the Georgia Rural Center to further this plan forward. So I'm really excited, and the team's really excited to see where this progresses, because obviously Dawson County is blessed with wonderful natural resources and a lot of green space, but to be able to incorporate something that actually creates public trails and public accessibility here where a lot of your residential and commercial growth is would be phenomenal. And then I think that was me breezing through that as quick as I could, but I realized I went probably way over time.
That's all right. Thank you. I'm just going to wrap up a little bit. There's so much in this plan. But, you know, as we mentioned, we have these geographic areas, and you see the linkages where you've got the trails going through the industrial area, going from the mixed use. It is really a comprehensive economic development plan, something that's going to be able to help attract, and we're going to talk about the targeted industries now, help attract those industries to come here, that they're not just buying a piece of property, but they're actually coming in, investing in a community that's taking care of its citizens, that's really being innovative in the way that it approaches economic development and supporting its residents, its community, and its environment. Next slide. So the 4 targeted industries that we've really identified, we spent a lot of time going through looking at your assets, your liabilities, your existing workforce, your workforce training opportunities, your schools, wages, prevailing wages, what your wages look like in these particular industries versus the state wages, and how to create a competitive edge for that. And at the same token, if yours were perhaps a lower prevailing wage in Dawson County, that's a great attractor to Dawson County, but you can also start to raise and require higher wages in those jobs. So there's a really nice relationship, I think, between where you're competitive, how to utilize that, and then raise the standard of living for the community. Well, of course, Ryan mentioned earlier that, you know, infrastructure, as we look at what the available infrastructure is to accommodate these particular industries, we're not looking at distribution centers. It doesn't make sense. What we're the kinds of advanced and light manufacturing that we're promoting are much smaller footprints, right? They will lend themselves well to the natural and physical environment, the geography of Dawson County, taking advantage of 453, proximity to Atlanta, et cetera. So we spend a lot of time saying, where should Betsy in particular, but the Development Authority, really focus its efforts on trying to bring in and help assist the industries. So as I mentioned, advanced light manufacturing takes advantage of everything from your telecommunications infrastructure to your schools to the resources and workforce you have. Business, professional, and technology services, again, same thing. You are truly fortunate to have the infrastructure that you do along 400 and along 53, and the workforce that you have and the proximity that you have to the northern suburbs of Atlanta. In the report, you'll see where folks are commuting to. Nobody wants to spend a lot of time in the car, especially post-COVID. So I think you'll start to see some businesses moving out and wanting to come to a place where there's a better quality of life. So we really see that as an opportunity. Healthcare services and support. As Ryan mentioned, you know, you're sort of bookend in both counties, have these medical centers, hospital medical centers. There's a real opportunity for that, almost like infill between those two, for healthcare services and support, everything from, you know, the back office support, medical billing, to doctor's offices, to, you know, specialty services that can accommodate that. Perhaps even manufacturing, light manufacturing of devices. Well, we try to make sure that these things are all integrated and linked. And then the last one is sort of the tourism and experiential retail, taking advantage of the natural and cultural tourism that you already have, building upon that, and actually taking it to the next level. We're trying really to think about how to engage the retailers with the tourists. So you've got, you know, you've got certain businesses there that you could go and try a kayak out on the river, or you might have some fishing classes, or it's a gear, you know, clothing outfitters, whatever it is, to really connect those tourist operations with your retailers, potentially with manufacturers, because you have that unique set of assets in the community where you can go and be outdoors in minutes and really try to attract that. So I think there's some really good opportunity there that we're really working hard with Betsy and Christy to figure out how far you can kind of push that and make this a really unique opportunity, not just another parcel of land in North Georgia. So I think that's sort of my target industries. I know we've gone way over time, and I apologize. There's so much for it and involved with it. We're happy to take questions or just do some follow-up later on, whatever you'd like. Thank you.
What is a Blue Way? She talked about creating Blue Way on the Etowah River. What's a Blue Way?
Did you hear that?
Yep. What's a Blue Way? Ryan, you want to take the Blue Way?
Sure, a Blue Way. So people think about trails as being, pedestrian or bicycle trails. We talk about greenway as well. You've got the Etowah River there that's obviously already used a lot by canoers and kayakers. So a Blue Way is just a terminology to take advantage of just that additional natural resource, that additional mode of transportation, to be honest, of a blue trail, a water-based trail. We actually came up with some ideas and thoughts about, if you got one of those experiential retailers in that focus, say, on any of the aspects of a triathlon. Maybe Dawson County could have their own kind of Dawson County specific triathlon that was we call it a hike, bike, and kayak. Obviously, you wouldn't spell kayak the exact right way, but you really could do something that would be fun on that loop of the Blue Way, the trails, the roadway. I know that was a long answer to your question, but a Blue Way basically is a trail or a river-based trail.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Right, Tony, you got some additional thoughts to that? Come on. Tony is our chairman of development.
Yes, I just like to summarize what you've seen today, and I think our excellent team of the experienced consultants that have a pretty firm foundation in Dawson County and what we could be. And was particularly pleased at the participation from the citizenry as we went through these last 10 months of putting our strategic plan together. Now, I've been involved with the Development Authority for a number of years. And this is, I'm so excited tonight because we finally have a strategic plan that we can work with. There are many next steps at the Development Authority, and with your leadership, we need to capture and put into an actionable plan. What you heard tonight was I like to think of it as kind of the what, the where, and the how to drive towards our goals. These efforts will take the form of short-term and medium-range and long-range scenarios. Can't do it overnight. As we jointly put into play the strategic plan and a more tactical game plan, the Development Authority continues to maintain our full transparency to the Board of Commissioners, to our community, and to our businesses. As a resource to Dawson County, the Development Authority will need a lot of input, assistance, and guidance to realize our county's potential. Thank you for your attention.
Any questions for Tony? Tony, thank you so much. Lynn, we appreciate the presentation. And Ryan, thank you so well for the update. Any other information before we move on?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have the presentation of special event business license application, Because Coffee event. Harmony, you're going to be doing that. Jameson has, if you don't know, Jameson is a new dad today. They had a baby, a little boy, and so Harmony is batting for Jameson today.
Because Coffee is seeking a special event business license for their 1-year anniversary. Due to COVID, this event was postponed from earlier this spring. The event will begin at 12 p.m. on November 6th and will end around 8 p.m. They'll be featuring food trucks and musical acts. There should be no disruption to the traffic flow of the shopping center, and the musical acts have said that they will conform to the noise ordinance. All the necessary signatures have been obtained, and any concerns that were raised have also been addressed by the applicant.
Questions for Harmony?
Are you gonna be disappointed if we don't ask the
Oh,
question?
no, ma'am, that's not gonna hurt my feelings. No, ma'am.
I thought I saw some relief.
Can I ask you to quote the ordinance if you could?
Next up, we have presentation of acceptance of Victims of Crime Act grant for FY 2021. Mr. Dara, not going to do that. You're going to do that. Ms. Vicky.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The district attorney is out of town, I think, this week, so I told him that I would step in real quick for him. This is just an acceptance of a grant that we currently have. It's the VOCA grant continuation. It's the same amount, $74,419 that we received in 2020. The only change is that the match is going to be waived this year or in 2021 due to COVID-19. So they've applied for it, they have been awarded it, and so this is just your acceptance of the grant. If you have any questions, Katie Strayhorn is here to answer those.
We need to move this to,
Yeah, it does need to be voted on tonight.
Well, sorry, match last year was 25%.
Yes, it was 25% last year, well, this year, 2020, and then for 2021, there is no match.
So.
And it covers the wages and benefits of one employee.
So technically, it's a cost savings of $18,750 to our general fund because we matched it last year approximately.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I've asked this before,
Yes, ma'am.
but why wouldn't we accept a grant?
Sometimes there's restrictions tied to it that you just got to make sure you're comfortable with, that you're
Yeah.
able to fulfill, I think.
Okay.
the report
The
is.
reporting
Do what?
Tremendous amount of reporting.
When it comes to reporting could be difficult or match, too much of a match. I mean, there could be different reasons.
What we like
But this
free
is
money.
no match. I know when you got my ear.
Yeah, and we've had this one for several years.
Mhm.
It's just really a continuation.
And no match because of COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's wonderful. I'm ready to vote now.
I just want to tell Katie, thank you.
Move it to.
I know she didn't want to speak, but I know you do a lot to take care of these people. I mean, thank you. You've done a lot, I mean, it's over several years.
Yeah.
And brought a lot of money in to take care of this people. So thanks.
Other questions or comments? Thank you. Y'all okay with moving that forward?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
All right, next up. We have presentation request for increased funding for legal fees for FY 2020. Vicky's going to do that as well.
Thank you again. I'm here today to request an addition to our budget this year of $150,000. We are currently under contract with the law firm of Gerard and Davis, and we budgeted $250,000 this year. Currently, there is $12,281 remaining in the legal fees line item. At the time when I wrote this agenda item, there were 4 months of invoices outstanding. We just received the bill for September, and it was for $40,953. So I need to have the budget amended in order to be able to pay this invoice. And so I would request that if you approve this, we would vote on it tonight.
Questions for Vicky?
And the money comes from,
This will come from fund balance.
is that same thing as general fund?
Yes, ma'am. From general fund balance. Mhm.
It's our contract. We have a set amount that we've agreed to. Then we have the unset amount of litigation that
Yes.
is, and
And
this
we
is
have
the
not,
bulk
we
of
we
every
won't reach the
set amount,
non-cap, I guess is how you
the
say it.
capped amount, right?
Yes, but because of litigation, it's
litigation, right.
created, additional expense.
Right. So we budgeted, our cap was 250, was that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so we
And-
budgeted for what we knew at the time.
Yes.
But not knowing litigation, we can't put a number on that. Is that,
Exactly. And
is
it
that how you
could
wanna
be
handle
that
it
by
next
the end
year?
of the year that, we won't need the full 150,000.
Right.
So that of course will roll back into fund balance, but just that way we won't have to come back, before the end of the year in case
Right.
we need more funding.
we're technically under on the match side or on the uncapped or the cap side?
Yes, and I sent that out this
Yeah.
afternoon. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read that, but we're about $116,720 under the cap. But the litigation cost is what makes up for that additional that was unaccounted for, unexpected.
Other questions from the board?
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am? Next up, we have presentation requests, a presentation of board appointments. First up, we have the library board. Carmen Ferris replacing David Jordan, October 2020 through June 2024. And then we have the planning commission, District 1 alternate, Seth Stowers, January 2021 through December 2021. District 1 would be Ms. Sharon's appointment. And I would ask that the library board appointment be moved forward because they got a meeting coming up and they need this person there so that they can have a quorum. So the planning commission one we can vote on at our regular meeting, but I would ask that we move that one for the library board forward. And this is a person that was recommended by the library board. They have vetted this person, and which is a policy of when we have board appointments, asking them to take a look at these people and making sure that they fit the needs of that particular board. All right.
So Seth is not running with my term. He's just, I guess is he,
I think all of our planning,
is this, okay, that,
We're trying to straighten them out.
oh,
we're
okay.
working on that.
Okay, alternate, so alternate.
Yeah, we're working on
Everybody
trying
won't expire at the
to
same
get all
time.
them at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Unfortunately, they all expire at the same time, but we're working on fixing all that
okay.
so that they don't. All right. Any other information needed on that? Okay. As I said before, we're going to have a 5.1. That's the addition of the Etowah Valley Sporting Clay First Amendment to the lease agreement. Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir. You know, this has been a topic of much conversation for quite a few meetings and executive sessions, but throughout negotiations with the authority and the opposing party, we have a final settlement agreement and lease agreement to present to you tonight. And we would ask that it be rolled over to the main agenda so that we can get that approved and then get the county paid the rent that it's due to be paid before the end of the month.
Questions for Ms. Davis?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I think we need to,
Yes, ma'am.
pronto, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pay the rent. All right. Next up, we have the county manager report. David.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Key indicator reports for the month of September and the list of the agreements that have been signed are all in your packet. The IT department, along with facilities, recently recycled 8,739 pounds of old non-working equipment from all county departments. We'll receive a check in the amount of $667. IT also continues to monitor the cyber attack situation in Hall County. When the risk is minimized, communication between the counties will reopen, starting with email. And they, at this point, have not been able to determine what that breach is, but it is about 70% complete. So we're looking at probably next week of starting that. The Dish Network, we've had much conversation on. Installation is progressing with the courthouse, and installation at the sheriff's office and jail is complete. So the sheriff office, jail, and the courthouse and station number 1 are completed. Beginning next week will be the senior center, public works facility, and fleet next week. And that concludes my report.
Questions from the county attorney, or county manager? You know, you rank that high.
Or that low.
Yeah, that's right.
I wouldn't go that far now. All right. County attorney report.
No
Ms.
public,
Davis.
no public report tonight. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have any need for,
I have one brief update I could share with you that I just got before the meeting. So if we want to take just a really quick executive
Okay.
session, we could do that.
Can we do it after the
vote?
executive
We
session?
could do it
So- I mean,
after,
after
so-
the
After
voting
voting
session.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That
we
way
don't have to
people
clear
don't
the
have to come
room.
and
I
go.
think that would be appropriate. I
Yep.
can say it to you as you're packing your bags and walking out.
We
So,
won't have to go back
Exactly.
all right.
No need to come back out and do.
All right.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have on the work session. We will take a few minutes and then we will move into the voting session. Thank you for your attendance. We welcome all of you to stay with us for the voting session as well. Thank you.